My guests today are writers, directors, and animators Andy and Carolyn London. Now, since 1999, they've been creating films, music videos, and animated content through their company, London Squared Productions. They have created award winning films that have screened at festivals including Tribeca, Annecy, and Ottawa, to name a few. And today, they are here with their official selection to the Sundance Film Festival, the animated short film 1981. Now, the film is about a 14-year-old Douglas who gets a birthday surprise that will change his life forever. And 1981 is a psychedelic coming of age story that captures the beauty and terror of teenage desire. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome writers, directors, and animators Andy and Carolyn London and their Sundance Film Festival official selection 1981 to the show. Welcome to both of you.
Hi.
Thank you so much, Ward. So great to be here.
It is an
Yeah.
honor to watch this amazing animated film. And Andy, I'm going to start with you. I understand that this film came from a personal experience. Please explain.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Long Island in the 80s, early and in the early when I was 13, my friends up the street had a birthday party for the 14th birthday, and it was a normal party, but the parents had a stripper. And so I opened up the door, and there were a bunch of 13-year-old boys, like, just staring at a staircase with a woman just coming down the stairs, taking her clothes off. And the memory stuck with me for decades, and I guess that's yeah. I mean, obviously, we changed things in the story a bit, but that's where it originally comes from.
Well, Caroline, what did you think of that story?
Well, when Andy first told me the story, of course, my original thought was, what were the parents thinking? That seemed, but knowing Andy for as long as I have, it didn't seem so outlandish. He's basically a treasure trove of all these types of stories. And in fact, this film is a proof of concept for a television show that we're developing, which is based on a lot of these types of stories. But what the first thing I thought was, okay, well, this will make an interesting short film. But what I wanted to do with Andy was take it out of the realm of just something shocking and weird, and turn it into something also that was poignant and beautiful, and maybe that would resonate with people.
It was so funny because when I watched this film and I watched it a few times, it kind of brought back memories to me during that time period. And I was kind of like you. At first, I'm thinking, what in the world were the parents thinking? Because when I looked at the film and I'm looking at the parents, Douglas's parents were still the epitome of the 1970s, especially with
Sure.
free expression. And,
Oh,
Yeah.
even for me, I even felt embarrassed. I would feel embarrassed if my parents acted like that.
Oh,
oh,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah. You had to know the tones,
Yeah.
though. They were very interesting parents. They loved each other very much, but they would go every weekend to the Poconos and to their little hot tub and leave their kids. And I don't know. They were special.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the hot tub probably was shaped like a champagne glass
Right.
Or
back in the day, and the bed was probably red crushed velvet and shaped like a heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
you captured the parents in this film perfectly. And it's funny that you bring up the fact that you're looking at creating a TV series. I can actually see this or those types of characters on television, and I think the American public would fall in love with it.
Oh, well,
I
that would be
agree.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the parents are really good-hearted people, and they, as Andy said, they love their kid, they love each other. They are coming out of that period of time in the 70s, and they're coming up, that free love, that free expression, and then they're coming into this period of the 80s where, uh, you know, some of that stuff doesn't age very well. and um, and also, I think that a lot of parents. The reason we called it 1981 was a lot of parents, they were trying their best, but when we needed them to be grown-ups, they always weren't acting like grown-ups. And I think that's what Douglas is really feeling in this film.
You know what? You bring up a very good point because back in the day, if you had parents and their kid is 13, 14 years old, the parents are probably mid 30s and
Exactly.
not what I would actually call fully mentally mature because sometimes, even today, regardless how old we are, sometimes our
Sure.
brain feels like it's 18 years old.
Right.
Yeah, so that and I can completely understand that, but it was
Yeah,
funny
I think I
because
froze a little bit there.
oh, that's okay. You're good. You're good. And I found that Douglas's parents' demeanor a bit uncomfortable only because at that age, when I watched it, my parents were very conservative, but his parents in this film reminded me of people who would regularly attend Studio 54.
Yeah. I just remember, I mean, these parents, they were, I can't emphasize enough, they're really, really genuinely nice people. But they just did things that other parents didn't normally do. And it really freaked out my parents and, of course, the other kids' parents. But they had a porn projector in their attic. And on weekends, when they go to the Poconos, the 12-year-olds and 11-year-olds, and we go up into the attic and we get the porn, we get out the 8 millimeter film, and we'd play a projector and we'd play these movies. It was just, there was all kinds of things that were just not right, but at the same time, they were deep. These kids were loved. They didn't know what a potato came. They thought potatoes came from boxes because the parents used instant potato mix. So it was just like they were characters.
But I think there's also a part of it where, they really believe, and this might be something like a little bit embedded in Jewish culture. I don't really know the answer to this. I mean, but that they think like their son is becoming a man. And this is part of the process of helping him become a man. And nowadays we would say, oh, hell no. But there was some sort of weird logic, I guess, around that at the time. And if you were a kid who had a bar mitzvah or something like that, maybe this is just the next rite of passage.
Well, what was funny was it's like when the stripper showed up, and to think back at being that age again, there is
Mhm.
an awkwardness. Because if you have a group of boys, and let's say like in this film, you have some that may know a little bit more in the areas of the birds and the bees, where you have other boys that haven't really reached that level yet. So there's this tenseness, there's this awkwardness within the room. Even, hormones are being stirred up. They don't know what to do at that moment. And I guess some of them are probably trying to either you know, wipe the smile off their face or they're smiling because they're in fear. So I just love the whole feeling of this film.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
what?
that's
No,
yeah, I
go
think
ahead.
you absolutely captured that. And I think also with Douglas, as we can probably ascertain from the film, he's not entirely sure what he is. And this is a whole other complication because I think for the first time in his life, I think we could probably assume that adult Douglas is a gay man, but 14-year-old Douglas doesn't know what he is. And especially at that time in the 80s, I think there wasn't a vocabulary to talk about these things.
For
So,
sure.
Well, and I picked that up in the film
yeah,
because, which I think even makes the awkwardness a little bit even more elevated and expanded within Douglas himself because there's that one short little scene where you kind of give us you know a clue with Douglas. And so
right.
even when the stripper shows up, you can look at the look on his face and he's still trying to process, and it's just really, I mean, I remember back gosh, okay, if it's 1981, and I came from a very, very small town of like less than 8,000 people.
It's
Um,
like same.
I think, I mean, if I think back, I think there was probably one gay person in town that we knew was only because
Right.
there was you just kind of knew. You kind of
Sure.
knew.
Hmm.
And back in the 80s, that,
Yeah, you
it
didn't
was
tell.
extremely rare for someone to be open about it.
It
Yeah,
was dangerous. It was a
yeah,
dangerous thing for a kid
for
to
sure.
be different, to be anything other than
Yeah,
what was passing for normal, and I put that in quotes for sure. You know, with the whatever the dominant culture was in that town, it was dangerous to not be part of that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and for and it was really cool that you added that element in the film because, in 1981, most people would think that we're, with a group of boys, parents bring a stripper into the basement for a birthday party, and all the kids are thinking the same thing, but in reality, they won't be thinking the same thing.
Right.
There's a different level of I'll just it's not maturity. It's a different level of puberty for each and
Yep.
every kid. And of course, some of them, even at that time, they would have no idea, or the struggle when it came to identity was probably far more profound then than it was today.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and also,
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I think that's interesting because I think one of the things Andy and I talked a lot about when we were making this film is you're a mystery to yourself at that age. You don't
Mhm.
even know what you don't even know. And this is this dancer, and she's a real dancer in New York. She's a fantastic artist named Minnie Tonka, who was amazing and collaborated with us. Um, it's a very there are these weird moments that happen as well in your life where people come through, or you might watch it in a film, or you might read it in a book, and you don't understand it, but it ends up becoming this imprint for the rest of your life. And there was something that was another dimension that we wanted to capture in this film is are all these boys, not just Douglas, but all these boys are going to look back at this moment and be like, okay, whatever that was, I'm different now.
Yeah, everybody in that room has a story to tell for the rest of their life.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's funny. I ran to a friend from high school, or actually elementary school, and when we just started production of this film, and I talked about it, he's like, "Oh yeah, I was at that party. I remember it." And it was just like 40 something years ago. And he's like, "Yep, I remember that lady going down that staircase. It was weird as shit." It's
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Now, I want to talk about
yeah.
this very different and very incredible type of animation that you used for this film. I understand that you used a concept called rotoscoped. What is that, and why did you choose that form of animation?
I can describe what rotoscoping is, and then Carolyn, you can talk about why. Uh, Rotoscoping is where you trace frame by frame live action footage uh, to get the effect of it being animated. And with this particular film, it was a lot of analog medium and some digital medium, but lots of watercolor, brushes, pen nibs, and you name it, charcoal, to make it feel very traditional and old school. And you want to talk about why we? Yeah.
Well, I think partly why we choose this kind of animation, and we've done different styles of animation for different films in the past, but it didn't want to be a documentary, but it did need to capture that sense of it being alive and present. And we have made rotoscope films in the past, and what we do is we actually stage everything in a live action setting. So we'll create like a little party, or we'll create we have Minnie Tonka, and did this performance multiple times in a room. We composite a lot of these scenes together. But it's intentional because we don't want it to feel like a live action film, but we do want to capture that immediacy. And this technique gives us a sort of balance for those two things. So we do have like live action cinematographers, what we work with, and then we bring in this technique on top of it.
So,
It's also dreamlike too. That's another dimension of it because you don't see because it feels real, but it's not real. And
Exactly.
yeah,
yeah, I found the movement of the animation very entertaining because it really made the characters come to life. So if you're filming live action and you're going to end up tracing and drawing over those images, are you
hmm
doing this by hand but into a computer program?
it's a combination. It's by hand on paper, but it's also on digital programs like Photoshop as well. But it's a mix. Yeah, and also there are some parts where it's just straight up 2D hand drawn animation because some of the footage you couldn't use, and so you would just use it as reference.
Well, how
And
many
another
pages? How many pages did you have to create for this film?
thousands is a crazy number. It's like it's 12 frames per second, and the film is 7 8 minutes. But I must have rotoscoped about 10 11 minutes of it, and we ended up cutting a lot of it. And the other thing, just to mention, there's a little bit of a documentary kind of feel to our approach because we will shoot things over and over again and try to animate it. And it doesn't work out right, and we're grabbing kids left and right trying to redo it. And so it's like this give and take process. It is not.
Right.
It's not direct. It's there. It's definitely it has that. It's like finding things and shooting stuff again, finding more material to work from.
Well,
Yeah.
I found it. What I loved about this type of animation that you used is that there's this how, the best word I can use. There's this dancing effect to the
Mhm.
animation. So if you're looking, let's say you're looking at the scene of the parents together.
Mhm.
There's just this, even though it could be a static shot live action, with animation, there's more of this movement, dancing effect. There's this it's a nonstop movement that I
Right.
really liked because it really made you pay attention to the story even more.
Yeah, yeah, it's called tracebacks, where you just keep on tracing things over and over again, frame by frame. So the line always has a feeling, like you said, it dances. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think
So
what you said is really cool because what happens with this kind of animation, it focuses your eye where we want you to look. So
yeah,
because we don't fill in every line and we don't fill in every image. And so we use it like a framing device. Like we're saying, hey, we want you to pay attention here and
right.
we want you to look here. And one thing that we haven't really talked about this much, but I guess we should. So Douglas is played by our son. So, which is makes it very that's a whole other level to this film. It's
well, I understand. Did he have a growth spurt during this film?
Oh, he did, yeah, and it was a real pain in the neck because, like, everything we shot of him changed. So I had to go back and reshoot some stuff, but a lot of it I just had to use my imagination and change his height and hair and stuff like that. And yeah,
yeah.
but that was a definite problem because he grew a lot in the year I was drawing that out.
Well, with the experience of using rotoscope for this film, would you
Yeah.
ever use it again?
Um, I would, yeah. I mean, we like whenever we make films, we like to try different things out, and for this one, it just felt the story and the characters. It lent itself really well to rotoscoping, and I think if we were to have a TV series based on 1981, it would be definitely a direction we would go in.
Yeah.
Uh, but it doesn't mean we're only going to do rotoscoping. I like to try out all different kinds of techniques depending on the story we're telling.
Well, if you're using this technique and you're
Yeah.
telling this story, how did you come up or how did you work up a very specific color palette to create the feel and the tone of the storyline?
Ooh. We started with mood boards, Pinterest boards. We went to lots of vintage shops and collected items. We did lots and lots and lots of animation tests. Even before production, I spent animating like 6 months just trying out different looks until we came upon a look that we felt worked well.
And we also spend a lot of time making, as Andy said, we make mood boards, but we also do, we design our animated films the way people, when we've done live action films as well, like we will costume our talent in the same way that we're
Yeah.
doing a live action film. Like we'll pull like mood boards for them, we pull Pinterest, we do research. Like we love, like I love research for this kind of thing, like figuring out like what the environments look like, what the hair looks like, all of that kind of stuff. So it's like we production design all of it, even if though we end up using it in animation.
Yeah, and also it's like casting. We also cast the materials, and like I had this really really awesome Japanese watercolor I just love, and I was just looking for a way to use it, and so that ended up, and that color palette is from that. It's
Right.
just yeah, and so not only are we casting the teenagers and the burlesque dancer and the main characters, but we're casting our paper, our materials, our process until we come up with something that works.
It's
Well,
sweet.
I love the color palette.
Thanks. Yeah, that's Carolyn. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole film really just captures that whole time period. But it wasn't just well,
Mhm.
it was, you bring up like things like wardrobe and
Mhm.
it's the parents that capture the time period perfectly. And and not only with what they were wearing, but also in the way they were acting. Because now that I'm thinking about this concept that you used with live action, they still have to act.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm the mom in the film, so like so that's me.
Right.
And
Because the other characters played by our friend Tony
yeah,
DeMuro. I play the voice. So
right. Yeah, so we did this other weird thing. So I play the mom, Tony plays the dad, but we decided that we would use Andy's voice, except for my. Oh no, you use my you we use your voice too, right? So you right, we do. Your
no,
voice is my voice.
no, you played your own voice.
Oh,
You
I played
just
my own voice, right? You play all the men's voices because we were
that's all
trying to almost go for that. I almost lost my mind there. We were kind of going for that Peanuts thing, where all the adults sort of
long in
sound
it.
the same,
Yeah, right.
and it makes. And also, Andy has a very funny voice, so I like his voice a lot. So he plays like all the adults in the front of it, and then he just plays all the adult men.
So
Um,
I played the ladies there too, the
oh
neighbors.
yeah,
That's
he played the ladies.
right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I was wondering, Andy, after back in 1981, when you were at the birthday party, for you, what was your emotions like after the
Okay.
party was over?
I was definitely freaked out. I had not seen a naked lady before. And I remember she wasn't particularly young either. She was, a middle-aged woman, and uh, yeah, and I was like, I kind of felt a little bit ashamed, and I was afraid to tell my parents what had gone down, but they knew because all the parents found out, and they're all furious. But yeah, I was also really just trying. I was really just yeah, I was just kind of perplexed because clearly some of the kids were really enjoying themselves, and the kid who's having the birthday, it seemed like he was having a great time. He was all for it. But there were other kids that were just like, looking at me and looking at them, and like, when is the birthday cake coming out? Because it was like we wanted to get to the birthday cake. So, and I just remember it was an uncomfortable, awkward experience.
Yeah, and
But
see, no, go
knowing,
ahead.
yeah, knowing those parents, it seemed like the appropriate thing for them to do. you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and when I was reading the press materials on this film, and you're using words like awkwardness and cringeworthiness, I can really imagine and think that it had to be for a lot of the young boys at that party, because it's not going to be like, today everybody, I think now with young people, a lot of them it'd be like bragging rights and thinking that, oh yeah, this was awesome, la la la. But no, real life tells you that it's going to be awkward. You don't know what to really do or say. Are you supposed to be sitting there with a smile on your face? Are you supposed to be sitting there clapping? What are you supposed to be doing? Because it goes back to what we said before. There's different
mhm.
levels of puberty, hormone
Yeah.
levels are different, and I wouldn't be surprised if for some of the boys after it was over, they probably didn't want to stand up real quick.
Yeah, no, it was you also felt trapped because the door shuts behind you and you can't go anywhere. And it was a small stairwell, and we're all kind of crowded at the bottom of the stairwell, and she's just coming at you. And I remember the other thing I remember pretty well, the father clearly knew the woman because he gave her like a wad of cash at the end, and she said she thanked him by his first name. So I mean, it was like, but also it was so weird. And the mom, she was perfectly fine with it. It was like she was just came out with a birthday cake, like it was a normal thing. So it was like so. It was just yeah. It was definitely a weird experience.
Now, I know that you're in an official selection for this year's
Yeah,
Sundance Film Festival. Has
yeah,
this film been seen by the public yet?
Just in small little venues here in New York. We're sort of we haven't really rolled it out in a large capacity. So this is really our kind of like our debut, our coming out party. So we're really excited about that.
So, what are some of so those that have seen the film, what kind of feedback did you receive?
Uh, I mean, I think people really, honestly, I think people don't know quite what to think sometimes. I think that's why we were really surprised that we got into Sundance because, to us, this is sort of just another chapter in the life story and in the life work of Carolyn and Andy. I mean, we have all sorts of, projects and things that we've made over the years, and this is just another one of them.
this is actually
And
another chapter.
what, Matt?
Another chapter. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And some of our films do really well and some of them don't. And so we were like, okay, we'll see how this film goes. And I think it's been interesting that some people have had such a strong emotional response to it. Like a man who is gay who he's in his 50s, and he said, this, I really resonated with this film. Like, this just felt like so deeply personal to me. Like, I really understood. Um
I've heard
and
that from several people.
yeah, and it was just like a beautiful, and it was it just was very touching. I think that this film is like touching a lot of people. That sounded terrible the way I said that, but you know what I mean. I
No,
think
no,
it's
no. I know exactly what you
having an
mean,
impact. Yeah.
but I can see why, this is a film that fits Sundance perfectly.
Yeah. Oh,
And
cool. Okay.
I have a double question. When it comes
Okay.
to Sundance,
Hmm.
let me make this three questions.
Okay.
Okay.
How long did it take you to create this film from start to finish?
Hmm.
When did you, how far in advance did you submit to Sundance? Um, yeah, we'll just stick with that.
Okay.
And
Well,
the second one?
uh, the actual production of the film was a year and a month, but we spent about 5 months before that just doing all the testing and stuff to get the look of the film. So I would say altogether a year and a half. Uh, yeah. And the second question again was,
Was how far in advance did you have to submit to Sundance? Because, I know with animated films, they take a while to get done. And then
yeah.
sometimes Sundance goes, hey, um, we've selected your
Mhm.
film. And I've talked to animators before, and they're like, oh, we're not finished yet.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, we submitted the film in September, and it was actually a rough cut. It didn't have the sound was not mixed yet. Uh, there were a couple things that were not fully locked. So, but we had ample time to, because they told us we were they gave us notice in uh, mid December, early December. So
Yeah.
we had to do our final sound mixes and stuff like that.
I've heard that before from other filmmakers, and it's not just with Sundance. They send in like a rough cut,
Yeah.
and which I find interesting when it comes to big film festivals like Sundance to receive something that's not exactly finished, but
Yeah.
Sundance is right in the middle. I mean, they're basically kicking the year off. And
Mhm.
but they're also in the midst of all of the award campaigns at the same time. So, there's
Exactly.
a lot of crossover and a lot of busyness going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. This definitely, I mean, this is our first big festival that we've been invited to for this film.
For this
So
film. Yeah.
yeah, and it's been a really interesting what I and it's kind of unleashed this flood of other conversations that are starting to happen around our film, which has been exciting.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what, too, by being an official selection at Sundance, will this help you for the rest of the year with other being selected by other film festivals?
I think
100%. Yeah.
yeah, so for sure. We've had similar experiences in the past, and usually that does help because people take notice. And we're already getting invitations from festivals all around the world asking for, sneak peeks at our film. So we'll see where
Yeah.
that goes.
Yeah, and I think we've already been accepted to about 10 more festivals approximately.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, good luck to both of you at Sundance because I know that is an Oscar qualifying film
Yeah.
festival, and it's going to be a busy year for both of you.
I
Yeah,
think
I know I have to I'm actually taking all my zinc and my vitamin C this week right now. Ensure that I'm at, optimum health. So,
Hey,
yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So, for both of you, what would you like the audiences to take away when they see this film?
Andy, why
Uh,
don't you take it away?
okay. I'd like them to feel inspired. I'd like them to feel, yeah, I mean, especially filmmakers to be inspired to make something that is personal and vulnerable and uh, that thought provoking. I mean, that's what I would like the audience to feel.
Yeah,
Carolyn.
I can't wait to see what type of questions you get during a Q and A.
We'll
I'd
see.
like to just add to that, say that I want it to feel I think there's also a lot of beauty in this film. I mean, there is a lot of awkwardness, but to me, the impulse behind it was also that Minnie Tonka, the dancer, was this feminine, divine character. I mean, she wasn't just a dancer, she was this sort of goddess. And at least that's how I've always imagined her in my head. And I would love for people to have those dueling emotions of awkwardness and maybe discomfort, but also, some like wow, this is also beautiful. Like that to me is sort of where I would like it to live.
Well,
Yeah, I agree.
you captured the essence of what a teenage boy would be going through at 13, 14 years old. Then you multiplied it by a group of boys and put them all in one room and basically locked the door. And then it's like this whole mixture of
Exactly.
emotions and hormones
Like you can
and
smell the room, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that was the
exactly.
coolest thing about this film because you could feel it. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, it's pheromone central, much like our shoot, right?
It's true. That is so true.
Yeah, we had to herd all those boys in our basement. Oh my God, that was some
Yeah.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
It was
you captured it. You captured it
Yeah.
perfectly, and I can see this film going a long way this year.
Oh,
Thank you, Ward. That's great.
thank thank you.
Yeah, it's and I love the fact that it's real, And Carolyn, you said, vulnerability. There's a beauty to it. There's an authenticity to it, which in this case, I don't see a whole lot of real authenticity when it comes to storytelling, when it comes to short films, regardless if they're live action or
Mhm.
animation. But this one really has the spirit of
Right.
authenticity to it because when it comes to teenage boys, it's that time that we we grow up through, we live through, but we never ever really talk about it. And so here's this film that says, "Hey, we've all been there."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think that's so true. I always think about how when you're that age, you don't have a vocabulary to talk about the things you're going through. It's like you just don't. And that's always been so interesting to me, that about that period of your life where things are so vivid and they're so visceral, but you almost like don't have you are not even going to understand it for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
But you capture that essence in the film.
That's great. That's what we were hoping for. So that's great. Yeah.
But
Yay.
again, I can't wait to see what kind of Q&A you get at the film
Oh
festivals
yeah.
over this one. This one
Yeah.
is going to be a very interesting uh, group session for those who sit in the audience.
Bring it. Bring it.
Bring it on. We're ready. We're
Yeah,
We're
ready.
ready.
I
We're ready
think
to answer any questions.
Any
yeah,
questions?
yeah. And what I think is going to be funny with this one is that with film festivals there's always the blocks, and regardless if you kick off the block with the 1981 or if it's in the middle or the end, this is the one they're really going to remember. Yeah, and then Carolyn, I think it's going to, even the adults are going to have thoughts in their mind that even they won't even have the vocabulary to put the words in order. So
Love it.
this one stands on its own, and it stands a little bit above the rest at this moment, kicking off the year.
Cool.
Love it. Love it.
Love it. All right.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're attending Sundance, if you're attending any film festival in which Andy and Carolyn London's 1981, this animated short, is showing, be sure that you are in the audience and you will get the experience of a lifetime, and you will be reliving even Andy's time at this birthday party. Even as I sat there watching it a few times, I'm like, yeah, I can feel it. And men, it's not just you. Ladies, you're probably going to be thinking back even during the awkward times back in the day when you see this film. But this is a film that's a delight in so many ways. But again, Andy and Caroline London's animated short film 1981 pushes us toward the edge in search of honesty. And the film gives us the cringeworthiness and awkwardness of adolescence. We get caught in the moment of embarrassment, but you know what? Probably with a smile on our face, even though we may not know why we're actually smiling. But this film brought back memories of my childhood where the same feelings came to life. And what makes this film unique is the wide range of age groups, different generations who will be sitting in the movie theaters at various film festivals this year and watching this film. The mental and the emotional outcome will be vastly different, and that's what makes this film and its concept spot on for 2026. And the animation is a surreal experience, so reminiscent of the late 1970s to the early 1980s, and I loved it. And I want to thank you, Annie and Carolyn, for sharing this animated short in 1981 with me today to kick off 2026.
The pleasure is ours, Ward. This was such a wonderful conversation, and we were so happy to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Yes,
You're very, very welcome, and good luck. It's at the Sundance Film Festival. I can't wait to see what happens with 1981, and I know that it's going to have an incredible journey for the rest of the year at many festivals around the world. So this is a film, well, it doesn't matter where you're from. You're going to completely understand it from beginning to end. And ladies and gentlemen, you can watch or listen to all of the Bond on Cinema interviews at bondoncinema.com. Check out our Prime Show, our YouTube channel, Spotify, iTunes, and more. And remember, you're either going to see me at the movies or from the red carpet.